Shalom, shalom to all. Wishing everyone a wonderful Chag HaPesach. Hopefully it is a beautiful Chag with family and friends, and a redemptive one as well. I want to speak about the fourth part of the Seder, Yachatz, Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, and then Yachatz. Yachatz, the basic thing that takes place during Yachatz, as we know, is that we break the middle matzah. We put away the larger piece of the matzah for the Afikoman, and the smaller piece of matzah is placed in between the two whole pieces of matzah, and that's going to be where we describe the matzah as a lechem oni, as poor man's bread. So the Gemara tells us, why do we break a piece of matzah and put it away for later, which is going to be used for the Afikoman? And the reason for that is ma'ani darka beprusa kachata darka beprusa. On the night of Pesach, when we are reliving and reimagining what it was like to be in Mitzrayim, to be a slave, to be a poor person. So a poor person, ma'ani darka beprusa, an ani eats piece by piece. An ani needs to always save for later. There's nothing else in the fridge. There's nothing else in the pantry. So the ani needs to be responsible. And if he gets a piece of meat, a whole piece of, let's say, matzah, so they can't eat the whole matzah at once, because what are they going to eat tomorrow? What are they going to eat the next day? What are they going to eat the day after that? So we keep and we put that away for later. Rav Rimon in his Haggadah makes a beautiful, beautiful point. And he writes, and I'm going to read the words later, and hopefully I'll even photocopy and it can be attached to this video. But we hide the second part of the matzah for the Afikoman, and the whole process of the Seder is not only me'avdut l'cheirut, slavery to freedom, but it's also from Yachatz to Afikoman. Because the Orchos Chaim writes that at first, the Seder begins with disaster. Everything's broken, our lives are horrendous, we're slaves, there's backbreaking labor, and then at the moment of crisis, we know that we have to say, at the moment of crisis, I'm breaking the matzah, and that sound is so expressive. When you hear that sound, the first night of Pesach, of the breaking of the matzah, it brings you back. And you break the matzah, and even at the point of Yachatz, we remember that there's going to be a geula, that there's going to be an Afikoman. Afikoman is representative of, after I've had my meal, and after I've had everything, I'm going to eat. I'm a rich person. I'm a healthy person. I have food, right? The Afikoman obviously represents the wealth and the freedom that I could overindulge. So the whole night is Yachatz to Afikoman, but at the moment of Yachatz, I have to know and I have to be confident and I have to have emunah that there will be an Afikoman, there will be a redemption. We know that the very first time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaks to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, he tells them there's going to be a bad time, but there's also going to be a good. There's going to be a time where you go to Vevesi, there's going to be a time where you go to Eretz Yisrael. And Moshe Rabbeinu was told that he's supposed to be the leader of the Jewish people, and he's supposed to go to Paro and say, let my people go, and he's going to take them out. And Moshe Rabbeinu looks back at HaKadosh Baruch Hu and he says, God, they're not going to believe me. They're not going to believe me. And what is Hashem's response? Hashem's response is, tell them, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. Tell them, I will be what will be. Meaning, ultimately, in the end, I'm going to take care of everything. There's going to be an end for everything. Jews, Rabbi Reuven Leichter writes in an article that came out like 2 weeks ago in Mishpacha, he writes that the defining characteristic of a Jew, the Jews know that the reality they live in will not last forever. The future has something else in store for them. And this is why it hit me this year, because this year, obviously, it's a difficult year. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of loss, there's a lot of brokenness. And in Rav Rimon's Haggadah, in the beginning of each section of the Seder of the Haggadah, he has a little bit of an introduction where he speaks about the upcoming part of the Seder, whether it's Magid, whether it's Maror, whether it's Hallel. And this is what he writes. I'm going to read it and translate. So Yachatz Hashever HaKoshi. So he writes that Yachatz is the moment in the Seder of shever, of brokenness, of rupture. Ha'emuna ki gam hashever hu chelek mitahalich ha'geula. He says the disaster, the brokenness is a part. It's a chelek. It's a portion. It's an aspect of the path to redemption. Le'itim, because at times, tzarich lishbor kedei lihitkadem. Sometimes a person has to break in order to advance. Sometimes a person has to fall in order to grow. Kedei livnot komot gevahot yoter. Right? Sometimes you have to destroy in order to build very, very high structures, very, very high buildings. Ulam, however, tzrichim liskor kvar b'shat hashever. But at the moment of the brokenness, at the moment of the destruction, at the moment that you're taking the cannonball and you're ripping down this building, know that the reason you're doing it, there's ultimately going to be that there's going to be a geula. There's going to be, we're anticipating at the moment of rupture, at the moment of shever and koshi, at that moment we have to realize and we have to believe be'emunah shlema. We have to anticipate and yearn that there's going to be better days. Let's sapot lizmanim tovim yoter, to wait, to anxiously wait for better times. Gam im kerega he mechusim meitanu. Even as in the moment right now, the geula, the good times, are mechusim, they're covered, me'itanu, they're covered from us. And perhaps you could say that that's why we hide the Afikoman, because sometimes at the moment of Yachatz, the moment of Afikoman is hidden. Kvar b'shat Yachatz. So too at Yachatz, at the breaking, at the rupture, nitzpin chelek la'afikoman. We have to wait for the Afikoman. Kvar b'shat hashever, and then he repeats this in bold. Kvar b'shat hashever. So too in this moment of shever, this moment of brokenness, b'shat shel lechem oni, in the time where we really define. This is the moment in the Seder where we define, we break the matzah. It's not a whole matzah; it's broken. So now it's defined as lechem oni, as poor man's bread. And the next paragraph that we're going to say is ha lachma anya. Is this lechem oni? Is this poor man's bread? At this moment, navin. We have to contemplate and we have to understand and we have to internalize. Sheyesh kan shlav b'talich hagula. That this is only a step in the ultimate geula likrat Afikoman, to ultimately one day greet the Afikoman, likrat achilat matzah shel cheres, which is the matzah of cheres. And I just thought that this idea this year was so beautiful and so important, that though we've had a difficult year, we are people that await, we are people that yearn, we are people that drive the geula, and may we be zochet to greet Mashiach, to sing, to greet Mashiach, and to really sing be'emunah shalema l'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. May we be blessed with a year and a life of Afikoman and l'shana haba b'Yerushalayim.